Welcome everyone to Thursday night analysis stream in honor of Mikhail Botvinnik and all the great chess analysts. We're taking your games, those are the subscribers, putting them on the stream, analyzing them, making you up, leveling you up. Leveling you from noob to master in chess. Helping people level up and get achievements. Alright. Can you hear me? Sparkle horse. Horsey. Welcome, Asterbait. Where is everybody? Welcome to our analysis stream. I'm International Master William Pascal. We have 2 months to go to the World Senior Championship. A little analysis stream doesn't hurt. Alright. It is so good to be here, to be alive. Rest in peace, Coolio. My favorite thing about Coolio was that he said He said that he wanted to move to Europe because of Donald Trump. Good idea. Good idea, man. Sorry you didn't get to do it, man. What's up? Welcome, B-Jock. You're in the list. Yeah. Rest in peace, fellow Trump hater. Alright, we've got puzzles, learn, study. We've got everything in the study. We'll see what games we've got so far. I seem to be lagging. We seem to have a major lagathon. Why? Alright. My studies. There it is. Good evening. Mr. Coffee, you made it. I didn't think you were going to make it. I got massive lag. What is this lag? Whoa. 441 ping. Out of, like, nowhere. Where is this lag coming from? Whoa, hello, 400. 217. You're only here for a bit. Uh-oh. Mr. Coffee, I was thinking if I ever meet you, we'll have to go bowling. I haven't been bowling, man, since before the pandemic. 2019. Bowling and chess. Happy National Coffee Day in the U.S. What's up, Excel Poker? Hungary. I've never been bowling in Hungary. I found like a kind of one of the only places to bowl, but it's probably like not that great. Bowling, unfortunately, not very popular here. I think it was probably a little more popular in the past and sort of died out. Alright, but anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about bowling. It just occurred to me, like, yesterday or something. Oh yeah, Mr. Coffee and I could go bowling. Alright. Mirales submitted a game. Shaki, Mr. Coffee, Sumer. We have a very special treat today. Jim has submitted a game he played against the master of the anal beads. And that's from like 3 years ago, but still very entertaining, and it's sure to bring out the interest in the stream. And then, of course, Asterbait. So I feel like we're missing something here. We're missing somebody's game. Let me know if we're missing you. Excel Poker, you didn't submit a game, did you? Mirales, Shaki, Mr. Coffee, Sumaher, Jim, Asterbait. But I feel like somebody's missing. That's only 6 games. Move 11 will come in, and he can submit, a few gift subs for his late submission. I tried to find, can you believe that there's no tag for art on Twitch? There's like these other like subtopics, like, but I thought chess is art, right? We could have an art tag, seriously. it's not art for everyone. For me, it's art, you know, among other things. Chess should be considered a form of art, literally. But no Twitch tag for just art. All right, we've got got to get started here, I guess, with Morales' first submission. We're analyzing games from the subscribers. If you are a subscriber, you can still submit a game. We have a couple of slots left. Usually there are some people who come in later. How's my stream title? The Art of Analysis on Lichess.org. Donate. Discord. 8 viewers. Crushing it on this fine Thursday night. We're like building an arc here, because after the previous summer of no rain, it's like raining nonstop the last week. Okay, but enough complaints. So Morales submits this two-minute game with increment. Not my favorite time control, you know, but here we are. E4, C5, knight to C3, of course. Antonio, big fan of the closed Sicilian. A6. This is the Louvre of chess. Well, thanks, Mr. Coffee. That's sweet of you. Maybe I wouldn't go that far, but at least it's not, you know, the frickin' dump, which is what most internet chess seems like it is. All right, A6. Man, I feel like Morales submitted an A6 game last time, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I'm not overly like enthusiastic. I've had very so-so results trying to play A6 with black. The other thing is, if you do play A6, you know, you probably want to have it be relevant to your repertoire. If white does a chameleon thing where he goes back into an open Sicilian, which Morales has been doing sometimes, you might see knight f3, d4, or knight e2. You know, you've got to be able to play the Khan or the knight or for something that involves A6. Anyways, G3, closed Sicilian. The classical closed Sicilian. Yeah, I was thinking about something else the other day. I was looking at this with move 11. We had a game where I played d4, he played cd. I played the Morphe move order with knight f3, like sort of faking a possible Smith gambit. And, you know, move 11 and we just like transposed to a normal Sicilian. But I was saying to him that it's interesting to consider a6 in this position. It's so rare it almost doesn't matter, but I found this to be an interesting position to think about. One of the greatest tricks I think in chess is this, like, you know, let's say a6, I don't know, bishop c4 is interesting. But against e6, how good is that? Can you imagine in this position black played 0 games with e6? Oh no, he does. Okay, e6. Right. You gotta like e5, knight takes e5, queen a5 check though. Doesn't he give white more options by playing a6? Yeah, I mean, maybe in a sense it gives white more options, so I'm not sure if any of them are particularly good. Like, I'm saying, like, bishop c4 is not great because of e6. The Mora, you know, it's just a typical variation of the Mora. But the one variation that I thought would be interesting, obviously, if takes, you know, now you get the benefit of the best line of the O'Kelly. So knight f6, knight c3, and then e5. This is the point. You know, what we want to do with black is try to trick people into getting a good O'Kelly, or letting us have a good O'Kelly with black. First take with the knight. Right. Of course, CB tactic. But the problem is, if you take with the knight, black plays knight f6, and you don't have time for c4, because you're just like losing your e pawn. This is the point. Like, knight takes, knight takes isn't so great. Houston, we have a problem. So what I was wondering was, what about, queen takes d4? How bad is this? And the only things I could find were like 3 games. This old Judith Polgar game against the evil stepsister. Cinderella against the evil stepsister. And an Anu Shanina game with black. It's just like, wow, only 3 games. I thought maybe this isn't so bad for white. But it's something special, So basically it's a good move order for black. I think it's an accurate move order. In fact, after d4 pawn takes pawn, knight f3, this is probably black's best move. a6. And like white has nothing better than to transpose to the Smith-Morra or play some lame variation. Basically white can't really get an advantage in this position. But it's not related, okay, this is a different position. But it's similar. We have here knight c3, a6. So by the same token, I'm saying, like, what's up with d4? Now Magnus has that weird setup he plays where he takes with the queen and like puts his queen back on d2 in a similar sort of position, and then plays like a quick b3, bishop b2. It's not the same position, by the way, as what Magnus has played with white. It's just something to think about. Anyway. Alright. So Morales, has options here, but plays g3, which is the main move. Now b5. Honestly, like a6 against the close Sicilian is an almost useless move. If you don't play b5, I don't really see, what's the point of a6 other than stopping bishop b5. So this seems consistent. Bishop g2, bishop b7, and again, this is the second week in a row that Morales submitted a game in this line. But I thought last time was something different. Maybe I'm wrong. There's all different moves here. All different formations. I mean, in general, like, you don't want your knight, like, getting in the way of the bishop on g2. So, knight f3 is kind of surprising to see. If you think about it logically, the knight on f3 is on its best square, but it blocks the bishop on g2. It also blocks the f-pawn from moving forward. So I think when you play knight f3, you'd really like to play, ideally, I guess, d4 for white. So black plays e6. This is not great now, right? Because of knight, I assume knight d5. But I guess that's nothing because of here, now this pawn is falling. So maybe b4 is worth looking at. Who suggested this last week? There was somebody who was suggesting the idea. Oh, this is hanging. Okay. So this is still... Yeah, this move might not be bad, man. That annoying Yevgeny Romanov played it back in 2018. You were playing for a draw. Alright, knight a4. Is queen a5 a real move here? Never put the queen on a5. d4. I like this knight on a4. That's pretty weird. But I mean, to be honest with you guys, I think that black ought to consider it, I wonder why Morales doesn't play knight e2 instead. We keep this guarded. We keep the option of d4. Looks like knight f6 has a good score here for black. Castle or d4? d4. d4? No one has played b4? What's wrong with b4? For example? Knight d5? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is different, because now in knight d5 there's no, no simple solution. I can just take on f6. And you're playing the frickin' Blumenfeld Gambit or something with black here. Yeah, I don't know. I think I like knight e2 better for white. It's more flexible. So Morales plays knight f3. Now black plays e6. And then d4. Yeah, so I've got to, convene that this is, this b4 is an interesting move. Definitely worthy of investigation. Further investigations. Yeah, and I don't think that black should put his queen on a5, in this case d6. d4, cd4, knight d4, knight f6. And now white played c4, but I'm not sure if that's correct or not. It looks correct-ish. Let's see what the engine has to say. c4 or c3. It's hard to judge like what white's best move is here. But it does appear better for white. Okay, so good preparation by Morales. We have, back to the game, e6, d4, cd4. We should mention that if b4 now, situation is a little different. e4 is hanging, sire, but so is c5. So knight a4, if bishop takes e4, this looks pretty decent. If cd4, knight d4, or queen d4. Only one crazy dude submitted a link to me, but we're only going to go over games if people are actually subscribers to the stream. Gift subs count, obviously. So if you're not a subscriber, force a friend to sub you, or steal their credit card. Just the minimum I can ask, guys. Please subscribe. You are wasting your subscription. No. If you're paying attention, you're not wasting. No game today. You can learn from other... It doesn't have to be your game. Of course, analyzing your own games is the optimal, but you can learn a lot from analyzing other players' games. Anyways, black played this. Takes. And we basically have an open Sicilian. This, I guess, it transposes to the open Sicilian. It's like it's a Paulson or something. Con Sicilian. If this is a 2-minute game, I'm not going to overanalyze it. G7 is weak, so white could like move the knight and attack with queen g4, possibly a con Sicilian theme. So let's see what happened. He does knight b3. Black has a choice. Where do you go? a7 is more aggressive. I mean, bearing down on f2 is certainly attractive. There is an advantage in this, that if you get to this kind of line, no one has actually played this, but just hypothetically, there could be something involving bishop f6 as a theme. I'm not sure how that would work exactly. If queen g4, knight f6, queen takes g7, rook g8, queen h6. I don't know, like rook g6. It's unclear to me if black has enough compensation for the sacrificed pawn. You know, I mean, this is really not obvious. What do you guys think about queen g4? Anybody? XL Poker just gifted a tier 1 sub. Mice Creek. Thank you, XL Poker. Excelente. Anybody have any ideas about this move? I mean, this doesn't look like great because of knight c5. I don't know, although that's not even clear. I mean, maybe knight e5 and you can like put your bishop on c6 or something. Only one crazy dude is gifting tier 1 sub to the community. Wow, syntax error 274. Only one crazy dude just gifted a gift sub. Crazy dude, thank you. So crazy dude, you submitted a game? Let's check it out. I got really crazy dude lag. Crazy dude against Shaba. Interesting. Yeah, I'd like to take a look at that. It goes in the list. We've got five other games first. But thank you for subscribing. Someone else gift sub. There is like a sale on gift subs, I think, still till the end of the month. This is such a Hugh quality stream. Hugh. May the Hugh be with you. What strength is Shabalov? Well, I mean, he's dropped. He's older than me, but he's, you know, he's hovering around 2,500. The thing about Shaba is that, you know, he always played actively. He played a lot. He's a true professional chess player. The secret to being a professional chess player is like you have a wife who has a good job or something like that. So you can actually, what am I doing here? You can actually play chess rather than like have to teach chess. He's one of those lucky guys who only plays, but he plays actively even in his early 50s. So he's he must be around 51, I'm guessing. Maybe 52 max. He's not much older than me. I am losing my mind. All right, I have trouble with this browser because it's not as easy to use as Firefox. All right, and I'm having really bad lag on top of it all, so that's making it much worse. Now it's like ping 49, but why is it taking forever for me to do anything? He made the game really interesting and crazy. No, I mean, the thing about Shabalov, yeah, he's a really interesting player. He plays a lot of different openings. We've played a number of times. I think I have 2 losses and 2 draws. I don't think I ever had an advantage against him, like, at any point in the 4 games we played. Alright. Let's do this. My studies. I'm a little slow. It's a long day. It's the end of the day for me. I try to get to the game back. Alright. This is not the game I want. But yeah, it's weird. It feels like I have lag, but it says 49 CPL. Okay. So, here we are. You know, Morales transposes to open Sicilian. Queen g4 has never been played. White just plays like bishop e3 instead. The only thing that bothers me about this is that like we're obstructing our e file, but it probably You know, because you got knight d5s. I mean, you got to consider this. Wow, this was played by Kernizhitsky. I know this guy. He's an ancient, he's like an ancient I am from Ukraine. He must be like 85. I remember he was playing even like a couple years ago. I mean, maybe he's not 85, but he's definitely 80. This guy is impressive because he was still like 2300 in his late 70s. I mean, that's not bad. But here he played 95 against Horvath Adam, Grandmaster. That takes some guts. But I mean, okay, speculative sacrifice. You know, Horvath Adam is an expert in the Khan Sicilian, so this is probably a Khan. So 95 looks interesting. You know, I think like Rook E1 looks pretty natural. This was played twice. Normally, like, you're looking for that knight d5. Asterbait just gifted tier 1 sub to only one crazy dude. Thank you, Asterbait. Classic VIP move. Rook E1 is interesting. Okay, so this is a 2-1 game. I don't want to overanalyze. Someone even played E5. That's kind of weird. Wow. Hey, anything's possible. E5 looks like you're kind of overextending. So bishop e3, just developing, focusing on the c5 square. Black's going to play d6. He doesn't. Yeah, this is a 2-minute game. I mean, dude, knight c5 is a threat here. I'm going to break 1500 in my 70s for the umpteenth time. 1500. I mean, as far as I can tell, knight c5 is a serious threat, garnering the bishop pair. So black, like, it feels like he kind of has to play d6 here. So he plays that. So what's up with this move? I mean, is it possible the knight on a6 gets trapped or something? Alright, that doesn't look right. Bishop a8, knight takes a6. You got the threat of this. I mean, there's no way this is okay. Surprising, but it's, again, a very fast time control. He played a4. But now after b4, he has to go back. And he's weakened black's queenside slightly with the idea of a5, bishop b6. But he missed his window to play knight c5. So I think the knight c5 was simpler. d6 here. And this is looking pretty strong. Looks like white just has a bind. The b4 pawn might become weak later on. Here, here, here. Queen is a bit awkwardly placed. Now the knight on e2 isn't great either. We can recycle. He recycles it back to the center, like the Richter Rouser. This also is important because he protected his e4 pawn. And then a totally, like, shocker by black here. I mean, I don't know. Like, d5 looks like a terrible decision positionally. Yeah, man. I mean, when I moved to Hungary, I was like 30. And I've been here almost 20 years. So you do the math. Don't want to think about it. d5. It's when you're 30 you're young and when you're 50 you're old. That's a really short time, like 20 years from young to old. I just realized the other day. There's a 20-year difference between young and old. Middle age only lasts like 20 years. So d5 is kind of a crazy move by black, letting you lock the center in a good French. You know, this is Morales' favorite square. We have like 300 games. I don't know, 400 games with Morales. I know him. He's a good player and he loves his e5 square. So black makes a fatal mistake here, getting into a bad French where he's tied up. Okay, I mean the only chance is like to stick your knight on e4. because I'm not. I don't want to win a pawn like that. You know, just for your information. This is not. You know, that's not happening. That bishop is worth 4 pawns of material. So if knight e4, we're winning a piece with f3. Knight takes d4, queen takes d4 with triple attack on c5. 1, 2, 3. Not exactly. Black has rook c4. Oh boy. Could this possibly survive? Now where does white put the queen? Queen e3? d4? I gotta turn on the engine. I'm getting confused. It's possible this holds on. Wow, queen e3 works. Alright, so I was curious about this. A lot of calculation involved in this line. It's a very long line. So queen e3, d4, queen d3. But anyways, like black would like to play knight e4 if he could get away with it. This is extremely passive, but he shouldn't have played d5. I mean, I think you got to go to the end of the game and say, okay, black's worse, but this is a huge positional mistake. Now he's like condemned to a passive position. White has space advantage based on e5. Knight's bad. Knight's got to crawl back into the game via c7. And white has a very serious space edge. But he played queen g4. So, you know, I'm expecting f4. Black doesn't really have much counterplay. You know, just kind of a lasting advantage here for white. I mean, there is this. But what's the big deal? You know, knight takes d4. Knight c7. And black is trying to hang on. I mean, this actually looks really dangerous. Very different game. But Morales plays this. I mean, it's a move. I doubt it's like white's best move. It's a 2-minute game. It's kind of random. So knight takes d4, knight takes d4, and then bishop c5. And that's like, you know, okay. Second positional mistake. First one was playing d5 in the first place. But now, you know, you're trading off your good bishop for white's bad bishop. You know, although it is pretty powerful on b6. So I think we have a very good Steinitzian French. White has space advantage. This could get weak, though. I mean, black has some counterplay against this pawn, the c file a little bit. Here, Alpha Zero playing white. Alpha Zero's favorite theme is like playing h4, h6. Black can play h6 at some point later. Queen c7, hitting the pawn, but, you know, maybe he gets out of position there. There's attack with h6. There's sacks here that don't look like they're good enough yet, but they could be if black's pieces are too, you know, badly coordinated. For example, white play b3. I don't really like this move. I think you should just play h5. Probably black would play h6. But I'm just saying, if we play h5, and he plays rook takes a5, plays rook takes a5, queen takes a5. This doesn't look bad. Though you do have to watch out for bishop c8. Watch out for that last step. It's a doozy, as they say on Bugs Bunny. Yeah, that's a nasty little trap. But I don't understand what's going on with b3. Not quite sure. He just wants to stop rook c4, presumably. It's a 2-minute game. So black greedy, takes the pawn, takes the pawn, takes the pawn. Again, knight a6 fails to bishop c8. So white plays h5, black plays h6. Okay. And it doesn't work again. This doesn't work. Very important. So f4. And white is a tad White's attack here is not completely convincing. I think that black can probably hold on. Let's say queen c5, good move, rook d1, and now knight c7. But instead of knight c7, maybe we have to come to the conclusion that our bishop is a joke. And, you know, the time has come for the beautiful bishop c8. Ugly or not, you know, the concrete threat is f5. I'm willing to put my bishop on c8, recycle it back to d7, and ultimately, you know, it's a good defender. White seems to have compensation for the sacrificed pawn. But this is a big mistake because of bam. You could have played bishop c8 and discouraged this from happening. But now it's in, and it's a big problem, you know. And also the knight is away from f6, it's away from g7. I mean, it's a totally natural move, but I think he had to do this first. Bishop c8, and let's see the eval. Yeah, black's better. I'm not saying it's easy, you know. Black doesn't have a passed pawn. But yeah, bishop c8 would hold. This is a serious problem. So takes, and then I expected knight takes, but that's illegal. So yeah, maybe this isn't so bad for black, actually. Okay, queen takes, knight e6, queen f2. Yeah, okay, this wasn't so bad. Knight takes d4. I'm happy with queen takes, but black has queen takes c2. So it's like white's trying to survive. Rook takes, rook c8, rook d2, queen f2, king f2, and we're fighting for a draw. But white has more pawn weaknesses here. There's a problem, officer. Black has rook c3 check. You're gonna have to play king f4 and hold your breath. White is right on the verge of losing here. This has got to be a swindle submission. Rook f2, rook c3, bishop takes d5, and there. h5 is dead meat. Your only chance is to swing back over to the other side. So he did rook f4. It probably doesn't make a difference. I think white's lost. But this is probably a bad move. I mean, shouldn't he just go here? He tried to stop rook c4. So if white had instead played rook f1, you know, with the idea of this, like there's no way to defend that, right? How's black going to defend a5? My favorite international master Brony. This is probably, you know, major moment. Morales should play rook f1, but I still think he's, you know, on the verge of losing. Rook f4 here. Here. Oh my God. Master, that can't be right. Yeah, but I mean, it's like rook f4 really did him in. I guess he still has this, though. It was 2 minutes and low on time. White's got to be losing this. But it's not that simple. You know, to be honest. Rook takes c2, possibly even king f8. Now he might be able to just drop back. It is only one pawn down, though. You know, that does look kind of passive. So this is crazy. I mean, rook c4. Now you're lost. Obviously. So that was kind of a weird game. Sadly. We don't get many people like submitting their losses. You know, most people submit the games they won. Morales for the loss. Congratulations, nice loss. Harry didn't quite make it. I mean, where did white really go wrong there, though? You know, I mean, f5, he rushed it with f5. I thought here he has good compensation, so why don't we be more patient, right? He felt he didn't have time to unpin. I have a suggestion for white. Anybody? What should white play in this position? I moved 32. So f5 sucks. It's a nice idea, but if you have to take with the queen, it just like doesn't really do anything. So it looks like we don't talk about that other chess site, but you can submit a game from wherever. I think here, you know, bishop f1. Most importantly, I was going to suggest moving the king, right? But the problem is he hits our knight before we have time to land a crushing blow. Or does he? Seriously, could we sack a knight here? Wow, maybe f5 is still strong. Well, that defends g4 or d4 incidentally. But the threat of f6 is like devastating. Even king h2 might be good. But I was going to suggest like bishop f1. This is pretty interesting. But I guess king h2, if it works, it might be better. We're threatening f5. What's he going to do? His plan was this, but it's like blam. Takes. Uh-oh. That's a problem. Man, he has this. He has this freaking knight f5. Oh my god. Alright. Nah, that's no good. We can't let that happen. So you have to play bishop f1. Idea knight b5, bishop takes. Yeah, and we're alright. Then I figured a5 or maybe bishop c8. But at the end of the day, it looks like black was okay. He was not lost. Do I want PGN or link to... yeah, PGN. I try not to go to that place. Sorry. Champion versus Shaki. Champion. What just happened? Yeah. So, hold on a minute. Alright. Nothing important. Alright. So we're on to game 2. Moving on. Thank you guys for subscribing. Astrobay with a gift sub. Only Crazy with a gift sub. And XL Poker with a gift sub. 3 gift subs. We're analyzing serious games here from the viewers. But Shaki is the featured subscriber to my stream. D4, knight f6, c4, e5. He's been playing this 94 in the past. The Fajarowitz. You know, I used to think that this was just a joke, but actually it's it's not that easy for white. You know, this is actually something that white needs to think about. I don't think it's all that bad. I know there's this friend of the chess bra, some Serbian guy named the Butcher, who did like videos about this. It's not that bad, you know. I think the Fajarowitz is playable. And it shouldn't be underestimated. I mean, I've literally been playing chess for 35 years, and I've never had anyone play this in a tournament game against me. But in rapid or in online games, I've struggled a little bit with white to prove an advantage. Okay, anyway, theoretically, everybody says a3 is the best line. For what it's worth. Everybody being the people that I know who've discussed it, but knight f3 is a totally natural move. Now, I've never played this for black, but most people that I've played have played bishop b4 check. I believe this is, and I have an interesting idea that I've done here, which is counterintuitive. My best chance of getting a slight edge is surprising, like bishop d2. I've had quite good results with bishop d2. I mean, I probably played that against this guy. Let's see, Acerbate. Me as white. Okay, all set. Right, scared knight. Wonder who that is. No relation to Shaki. So, bishop b4 check, knight d2. And you give up the bishop, but there's nothing like for black to do, especially. So I think that's a real simple way to play. So he plays instead here a different move, d6. Oh, look. Sparklehurst versus Scared Knight. What a surprise. d6. And I played g3 with the white pieces. Refusing to like cooperate. Let's see what the Master Theory says. So, I mean, you know, who plays this for black? Can you even find a good player who played this with black? Literally no one over 2200. So d6, yeah, I mean, it's a rare gambit within a rare gambit. What does the computer say? My move isn't in the top 3. This weird queen d5 is, though. This is sound. It's a lot like an e4, e5 position. You drive the knight away back to a less aggressive square. So it looks like whatever this is, it could have been a correspondence game, but very logical play. Bishop g5, queen d7. Knight c3. White seems to keep some advantage. You gotta watch out for this, though. But, okay, white has an advantage for sure. So maybe that's like one of the best moves. d6, queen d5. This is kind of what black's hoping for. You want to develop your pieces quickly and get the initiative. This is a 10-minute game. Having said that, you know, we should also, of course, consider bishop g5, but that's covered by the knight. You know, that happens in the normal lines. If the knight was on g4, like bishop g5 is a move. Here, bishop g5, not a great move. Alright, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes, and then e3. And this is the kind of kingside that black, you know, can get a strong attack against h2, like a Greek gift style thing. So if I were black here, I would really, really focus on, I would think you would focus on kingside mobilization, like castling. I think castles followed by queen e7 at some point. But interestingly, Shaki doesn't. He plays knight to c6. I mean, this knight could come into e5 and exchange off one of the only kingside defenders. So it looks reasonable. Oh, here's a game where a Grandmaster was playing white. So Campos Moreno is, I think he's Brazilian. If I remember correctly, maybe not. I don't know, he's South American. Maybe he's Chilean. I can't remember. It must be Chilean. I can't really recall, but haven't seen his name in a long time. Queen f6. So this is a strong player with white, playing a gambitier back in '96. His opponent, who's a 2200, played queen f6. Okay, this kind of makes some sense, you know. I don't know what black's best move is. I mean, the problem is with the knight on c6, if you try to put the queen on anywhere, e7, you're going to get hit eventually by knight c3 and knight d5. I mean, queen f6 stops knight c3 or discourages it, right? Because of take. I don't even know if I would want to take that pawn, honestly. But the queen has, like, lateral mobility here, too. Queen f6 makes sense. What's up, Juicebox Wizard? I mean, bishop f5, not a bad move. I wonder, though, you know, why is black not castling? He doesn't want to, like, scare him off, or... Black's hoping he can castle queenside and throw the g-pawn like a Hennig-Schara gambit here. I feel like you have compensation, but maybe you don't think you have enough. If you castle same side, maybe it's too like dry. Queen e7 is totally viable. So bishop f5, keeping the option to castle queenside. It seems reasonable here. And now he goes postal with the g-pawn. Yeah, I mean, very similar to Hennig-Schara in the Tarash. If I were white, you know, Campos Morena's opponent played queen f6. I think he played it for a reason. I kind of feel like he was discouraging knight c3 or something. But maybe not. I mean, instead of cooperating, white could challenge the knight on e4, right? I mean, what's the safest move in this position for white? Probably knight d2. You got the butcher style stuff going on now with knight b4 and the c2 square. So this is where these guys who play the black side of this might play like knight c5, for example, and try to find ways to avoid exchanging pieces. White should be trying to trade pieces, and black should be like trying to avoid it, probably. You know, like here, here. At some point, you probably can't keep avoiding it forever. But this could get dangerous now, you know. Who knows? You know, 1, 2, 3 pieces on d3. So castles g5. Yeah, white wants to exchange pieces. Is that the safest move to avoid blocking any pawns? You mean like knight b3? Like, fundamentally speaking, I like, you know, the other dude's move, queen f6, a tad better than g5 because it develops and it gives us a chance to castle queenside. You know, with g5, we're like starting the attack a little bit before we're completed our development. Knight d2, you mean? Yeah, I mean, well, knight d2 is not like ideal for white. You know, he could play knight c3. I mean, this. What does it matter? In fact, you know, if you have an extra pawn, white has very good control of d4. He totally could have played this. For example, knight c3, take, g4, knight d4. Now, it's a question of how strong is black's attack like against h2. This is an inconvenient location. So I don't know. But all I know is if I'm white here, I'm definitely trying to get rid of that knight on e4 as fast as possible. I don't care if my pawns are double isolated, as long as I can get rid of this. I'm up a pawn anyway. Yeah, I mean, this knight is not as well placed, but it doesn't make a big difference. g4. Now we can take on e4. He does. So if pawn f3, knight d6 check. There might be a bishop g2 in here somewhere. Double bishop sacrifice? We got like Emmanuel Lasker style stuff. What's up? I play poker badly. But I mean, to be frank, like, white has a choice here between knight d4 and knight d2. And he played knight d2 to attack the bishop on e4, but I mean, this has got to be considered. Suppose his, his concern may be that black could play maybe knight e5, ultimately like avoiding the exchange of pieces. And on something like here, we have very strong attacking threats involving queen h4. But even so, like, at the end of the day, I'm not 100% sure what's happening here. Like, take, and then f3 at the end. It's possible that white can just, like, trade everything, be okay. But this is kind of passive. But now black's forced. I mean, this is key. Bishop on e4 is hanging, so what are you going to do? Plays this. The old forward arrow key. Does bishop takes 8? Oh, still, Yoshiki's here. Oh, does this still work? Maybe. Bishop takes h2, king h2, queen h4 check, king g1, bishop g2, king g2, queen h3 check, king g1, g3, knight f3. Does this work? This still works. Maybe. Yeah. And rook g8 at the end. Threatening mate. The only defense is bishop d3. There's all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that white can survive. There's no way he's gonna survive. Do you think even g takes f2 works? Really? Well, I mean, g2... Does g2 work? I mean, he has knight h2. Is there like a finishing blow there? I didn't think so. Knight e5 is slow. Well, no, I mean, this is winning, right? What can white possibly play here? There's nothing. I think you're winning there. So either way. So maybe he has another move. Can the dude play c5? He's just losing a piece. Pieces. Parts. Is the point that he's lost in this position? He's just lost here? What about knight e1? The good old knight e1. Maybe that's the miracle of defense. Not that I like white's position, but you obviously have compensation. Can he possibly survive? Knight defends here. This could make a difference. You think it's going to work anyway? With no, with the knight guarding the g2? You like, I don't know, man. I'm not sure. You have a rook lift? This is kind of nasty. Rook here, rook d6, rook over. And this is pretty strong. I mean, maybe there's nothing that white can do, This is not, there's not that much to calculate here. Queen a4. You got queen a4 and c5. I can always just play f5. But there's like rook d6. This is a nice trick, like here, here, when there's double attack. I'm going to just turn on the engine. Computer is completely unsure. Yeah, it looks like 91. 91's the best. Computer is not agreeing. Now it's changing its mind. No, it likes his move. 92. Alright. No, it likes his move better. Wow, okay. We haven't really looked at it. So takes, king takes, check, king g1, bishop g2. Yeah. Well, anyway, knight d4 was definitely bad. So now if he takes, you have queen here, check, king g1, and we go back into, you know, the main point is like this, 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 you know, and like this, when white is just mated. All you need is these two pieces, just those two pieces. I mean, you could play bishop g4 or whatever, I mean, but he's gonna lose his queen. So, sorry guys, just messed up the board. Oh, there's some Sicilian themes like rook g8, queen h3 or whatever, you know. That happens in the Velimirovich attack. I don't think it works here, but... Oh, yeah, no, you're talking about the other variation where I sacked the bishop already? Yeah. Check, here, bishop g2, takes, check, here. You could do this, you know. It's probably a transposition. But I mean, you have to be a little careful. He might have some out, like rook e1 or something. Probably not. I like g3 first. I think we're arguing about apples and oranges here. It doesn't matter. This is not a question. It looks like he's probably lost. But f4 in the game, an unexpected resource might that somehow change. The main point is like, okay, this obviously fails to queen e1. g3. g3, king g2, queen h2 check, king f3. I don't believe that king is safe, but he might be able to walk out, you know, on the light squares. I mean, I'm kind of not believing this. I don't care like how many pieces you're down. I have the feeling when I turn on the engine, it's going to be like black is winning. Jeez. Castle's queenside, 0, just zeros. Yeah, this was a really interesting game. Apparently a draw, if you play that. But at least, good to know you have at least a draw here with g3. If it's a tournament game, we've got that at least minimum. But we really don't want to just like cash in. Bishop takes. White has all three recaptures. And I think his king is very safe now. For example, like queen takes. Queen takes, queen e3 check. Maybe he has to play knight takes, g3. It looks hard to get in there against white. So this is an unpleasant move. You don't have a lot of ammunition left here, so 95, anyone? You know, there's no time to screw around. So you play queen h1 check. Here, g3 check. So obviously he has king e1. He's kind of like getting away. This reminds me of the time that I played Justin Sarkar in like 1996 or whatever. He's a autistic master. I am. And he sacked two bishops on my king side, same thing. And what ended up winning the game, like he made another queen. So this g-pawn becomes a queen. I ended up in a middle game where I had 2 bishops and a queen against 2 queens. And the game ended much, much later. It was the weirdest game I ever played. It was like a 60-move game where the guy sacked 2 bishops on my king side. I mean, I never in my life had a middle game where the guy has like 2 queens on the board, you know, against the queen and 2 bishops. It was really weird. But I see that in your fortune here. So king e1, bishop takes g2. This is just actually really, really strong, isn't it? So bishop takes g2, queen f3. You'd just be up the exchange here. You wouldn't have to do anything fancy. This is just a technical win. So he literally can't do that. Check here, check. He cannot do this, he's just losing. So scratch the 2 bishops versus queen. So he literally has to take the pawn. Check here. Because king f2 is mate. This is definitely going to be mate. So this is the only move that doesn't lose. Well, I mean, doesn't lose immediately. And then queen h3 check. Surprise! But I mean, how much material have you sacrificed here? So king f2. You sacrificed nothing. That's a nice sacrifice. You literally sacrificed nothing. We have equal material. 5 pawns each, bishop and knight. It's just opposite color bishops. This guy has no development. His king is more exposed than yours. Nice knowing you. You've got a lot of possibilities here. I like knight d4 check, but he sneaks out with king d3. This is a huge threat. You can't let him out. So castles queenside. Then the check. Now he has king d3. He tries to squeak through. Knight b3 check. King c2. Take the rook. King b1. White wins on time. In any case, white was lost in the final position. First of all, but you know what I'm interested in is like, could he have saved the game here? No. But I mean, previously, there's no saving moves. So queen h1 was really lights out. Wow. No, he's just lost. So he's just lost. So knight d2 is just lost. So let's go back to my suggestion of knight e1. See, I can see further than the engine without calculating. I have to confess though that there is a connection here with the Tarash, with the Hennig Shara gambit. With this knight e1 thing, man. I mean, a lot of times White has to build some sort of weird fortress with like g3. Knight e1 was his only move. But it looks like you still have a wicked initiative. Yeah, good game. Alright, Mr. Coffee up next. Mr. Coffee, are you with us? With us or without us? Next game by Shockey. Classic Gambit style play. Oh, this is an over-the-board game. Mr. Coffee. Now I have to determine if he was white or black. He must have been black. Mr. Coffee plays Queen's Gambit declined, G3 Catalan, and then this. For those of you that are new to my stream, this particular player is the primary mod on the stream. He's working, though. I don't pay him enough, apparently. He has to have 2 jobs. Unbelievable. He asked me if this was the Catalan or the Bogo, you know? Adios, Juicebox Wizard. Thank you for hanging out. I mean, it's just a name, but I guess technically it's the Catalan, if you have to call it something. But you could get here. Well, I guess you couldn't get here from a Bogo, right? After this position, could it happen? Bishop e4 check, bishop d2, d5, g3. No, I mean, so if we played like a Bogo and White played bishop d2, you know, you can't play d5 in this position. There are other variations where Black plays a5. I've played a lot, you know, bishop e7, where you could get a similar position. So I guess technically this exact position couldn't be a Bogo. Bishop d2, and now he plays bishop e7. Okay, now we could. An old friend of mine who used to play this line with White had a weird idea here. I mean, I think a lot of people play queen c2 to protect the pawn on c4, but it's not mandatory. Bishop g2 is like the main move. Obviously you can take on c4. It's bringing back some memory I can't place. And now, I mean, I've probably played this against Mr. Coffee myself with White, come to think of it. Let's just see. You know, Sparkle Horse is White. Sparkle Horse, Excel Poker, Amoeboid. I have 5 games. 3 against Move 11, 1 against Amoeboid, and 1 against Excel Poker. None against Mr. Coffee. My results are getting worse. Won the first 3 and drew the second 2. Anyway, Queen c2 is more conservative. So let's go back to opening book. Castles is main line. Again, Queen c2 is possible. Castles is still main line. So now you got this like impossible decision for Black, where you play either c6 or knight on bd7 in a closed Catalan. I think like maybe the one thing that you want to think about here, from Black's perspective, you know, is there some advantage in doing c6 instead of knight on bd7? What would really the difference be? I mean, Black doesn't have to commit the knight to d7. I mean, it is almost always going to go to d7 in the future anyway. but maybe it's like more aggressive somehow to flirt with the early deployment of the bishop. So say white plays like queen c2, we play b6, we delay the knight, right? Leave it on b8. Then white has a lot of options. I don't know. I played this position with white myself probably, but let's just say he plays like rook d1, I don't know, normal move. So you have the option to do something like this where you're like leaving your knight on b8. Leaving knight on b8, there's a Kramnik game, and keeping c6 under control. You know, in this type of position, this is sort of useful. I mean, he can't invade here on c6. The bishop on a6 is harassing that pawn on e2. Something to think about, you know, because I really don't know what to say. People ask me, well, is it better to play c6 or knight on bd7 here? I don't know, you know. They're different, but, you know, somehow it feels like b6 is more flexible. That's the only thing I can say. Some people choose to play like a stone wall. Alright, anyway, knight on bd7. White has tons of moves. Played very conservatively. b3 is like super solid. Now b6 is best. Again, white has like tons of choices here. Rook d1, very solid move. Now Mr. Coffee dialing up the aggression with the a5. This is a very aggressive move. I could see like Carlsen playing that probably. It's a common idea. I mean, a5 grabs space. You can play bishop a6 when your bishop is like inside the shell of the pawn chain. You might be able to play a4 to chip away at his pawn structure. But I mean, they're basically like, what, 3 moves in this position. Conservative, aggressive, and like most aggressive, I would say, where you're trying to do both bishop a6 and a5, grabbing space. I mean, these could become weaker. Anytime you move a pawn, you weaken your position. Now white play bishop c3, he's like, Jesus Christ, it's move 11 and he's still, in theory. I wouldn't think like most people would know that. This has got to be a pretty advanced player. I didn't know bishop c3 was the main move here. I would have probably played either knight c3 or bishop f4 if I were white in this position. A bathtub after a5, yeah. Yeah, some people call it the bathtub. I call it the pawn smile. This is a pawn smile here. Bishop c3. Right. Normally the plan is like bishop a6. We want to put pressure on c4. You know, hopefully white trades and has nothing, you know, in a perfect world. Even black might be better because we just like are going to be on his queen on the file. So you see Ding Liren play knight on bd2. I mean, I never played bishop c3 before. It seems to be the #1 move. This is solid, but this is another move apparently. No, in a way, you're turning it into a Magnus Carlsen Stonewall Dutch. Magnus loves to play like b6 and stuff in the Stonewall with black. Play f5, you transpose. Here it's justified. I would think like bishop e1 is a move, but then like white's sitting there like, why the hell did I play bishop c3? So probably not. Knight e4, bishop e2. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I would care for my bishop and play bishop e2 or bishop e1, but probably bishop e2. This is a bishop. You need a permission slip signed from your parents to let me have that bishop. If the bishop is gone, it's gonna be like bishop. You know, what about all the dark squares in white's position long term? Bishops are worth more than knights in general, even sometimes when they're blocked in like this. So I don't think that I really love this. I think safer to play bishop e2. So he plays knight e5. Wow. He is on c6, so you can't just ignore it. But I mean, ultimately, like when I'm white here, I'm like, well, where's my dark square bishop? Have you seen my permission slip? Where's my dark square bishop? So he does like, there's a trick. Wow, like, who is this guy playing white? We cannot allow him to take, and the trick is knight takes c5. He's not going to let you take the dark square bishop. Now black is good. So there's a trick. It's knight takes c5, bishop takes e4. Damn, Mr. Coffee with 13 moves of theory. And now if we take, he takes here, and we're going to lose our e4 pawn. Not to mention the possibility of a rook d6 type of action, but here, I mean, you know, honestly, white's up a pawn, and there's also the d file, and I don't see the compensation so much. Curious Mountain Crawler just subscribed to tier 1. Thank you for subscribing. So anyway, Mr. Coffee, who I know, you know, for a fact doesn't study enough opening theory, is in 13 moves here, following Blako Geary from 2020. That's impressive. But bishop takes e4. So can we step back a minute? Yeah, we don't have a choice, right? Mr. Coffee getting hoisted on his petard. Getting aggressive with a5. Bishop takes e4, and now I play knight g6. So f5 is possible, but this is like a safer move. But I'll just like be upfront. I don't like this knight on g6. It's a shitty position for a knight. But I guess it's not such a big deal. You know, it's like one of your pieces isn't great. It's really not that big of a deal. Mr. Coffee with the correspondence. Is this a correspondence game? We're still in book? F5? Maybe it's a correspondence game. F5. White's clearly going to play e3, most likely. So if we don't play f5, we could do something different like bishop a6. This was played once. The problem is white can keep the tension, right? Knight d2. Then black ended up playing f5 anyway. You don't want to allow e4. It's like a Queen's Indian, bishop a6, Queen's Indian, where black just has a knight on a ridiculous square on g6. I mean, how is that knight going to get to a decent position in this game? It looks tricky. So f5, e3, not forced, you know, because I'm not sure like f4 is a threat, to be honest. Thank you for the subscription, Curious Mountain Crawler. What about books? I am Tomorrowland. We got a message. Alright. You have hate mail. E3. Solid. I think these guys are playing correspondence chess. That's what I think. Mr. Coffee played the only move where black won the game with bishop a6. h5 is nutso. Unbelievable. It looks totally insane. Machea played that against Jeff Zhang back in 2017. Not the safest move in the world. But, you know, I mean, you can do it, I guess. That's psycho. Bishop d6, just improving the bishop slightly from a slightly more solid player, Zhubov. Knight h8 was played and lost. These are all great players that play this position. I mean, you gotta admit the knight's badly placed, and Swiertz like puts it here, coming to f7. I was asking like, how is that knight going to get back into the game? I wouldn't be results oriented though. You know, just because Swiertz lost doesn't mean it's a bad move. Knight h8 looks passive, but it's a strong idea. Emery Tate would be like, knight h8, triple exclam. Okay, so bishop a6, knight d2, knight h8, and we're following, you know, what could be, that's a correspondence game. Safe to say, you know, I don't think Mr. Coffee found this OTB. This must be correspondence. f3. Natural enough move, and the Stonewall White wants to push through e4. White played knight f3 in the other game. Just really safe play, but I mean, I just don't know. Doesn't look like White really has much. Slightly safer position. f3. Bishop f6, man. I'm not leaving that knight on h8 for long, I hope. But this move actually prevents White from playing e4 by putting pressure on d4. King h1, knight g6. That doesn't make sense. It's pretty weird to play knight h8 and then put the knight back on g6. Admittedly, like, the position has changed slightly. I mean, is it crazy to consider like g5 when our knight could at least like go behind the chain of the pawns? We're not sure about anything, but I think e4 is a really scary possibility facing black here soon. No, you kind of wish you were like Wilhelm Steinitz and your bishop was on e8 going to g6 around this right about now. I'm kind of sorry I played a5 and bishop a6. Abufazl, welcome. Thanks for being a subscriber. Knight g6. Wow, he's like over preparing. Yeah, I was gonna say the rooks were like strangely placed. Great move though. The Astor maneuver. Rook a7. How often do you play rook a7 in the Stonewall Dutch and swing it over? My joke in the Stonewall Dutch is that the 7th rank is like all rooking games are lost because you get cut off. Rook a d1, and now rook d7. Pressure here. Yeah, white has now been stopped. I offer a draw for both sides. And that knight is not a happy camper. Where's it going now? Or you're just defending c6? Not really necessary. Okay, that changes the scenario. Now white played f4, introducing like knight f3, and now we're like, oh shit, how do we get our knight to e4? So knight c8, knight d6, you gotta watch bishop a3. This is gonna be a problem. Mr. Coffee starts a very surprising move here, giving up the center. Have you seen my central pawn? This is the Stonewall Dutch. Wow. So that's like a major development. I mean, generally speaking, like, you would never want to do this. But I mean, like, one justification could be if knight takes, you can just like drop the knight on d5 and say, all right, I'm willing to play this because my knight on d5 is like immovable object. But it would be a passive defense for black. But I don't see why we're playing d takes c here. And I think we should be more patient for black. He plays bc. Now I get this. We're changing the pawn structure. So what about knight takes again? With the idea of here? Do you still have this? No, this is a critical position. I'm skeptical of d takes c4. What are the green circles behind some moves? What the hell are the green circles? Who knows? They're green circles. Does anybody know what the green circles are? Seriously? Importance by analyst. Really? Really? You mean like the computer analyzed it? Importance? And White played like a god in this game, very solid. And then the next move is like shocking. Shocking. But the problem is c4. I mean, this is actually like trickier than it looks. How does he deal with that? Probably he should consider just playing rook c1. But I guess you got questions. This. Hard to defend both. I mean, this is a very complicated position. I can't analyze it in 10 minutes. But I don't like this for White. I don't like what happened with the central pawns. Both sides gave up their central strong points. Now here, the idea is to hit c4, and hit this. Very powerful knight. How long can you live with that knight on e5? You might want to ask yourself that. There's a huge fork here on d7 in a lot of lines, and there's nothing else that's going to get rid of that knight. I mean, this is a tough one. I would be very strongly tempted to do this. Bishop takes, queen takes c4. I mean, it's possible there's serious danger though, like queen b2. You'd have to calculate quite a bit. I mean, what maybe this at the end saves him, for example. I have the feeling that black is holding on. He's just holding on. But rook c8, leaving that powerful knight in e5. We can't leave it there too long. We can't leave it there too long. Okay, knight d7. I can't accept challenges now. Thank you. Queen takes c4. Rook takes c4. So we end up in an endgame. My intuition is to play king f7 here, but I think he didn't like knight d7 bang. So king g7 here, headed for e5. Black should be okay. He's not done any material. However, black has theoretically the worst bishop, and what else? That's about it, really. He's down no material. Worst bishop, really. Active rook on the 7th. Knight b6. Rook a2. It should be a draw, objectively. But not so easy. I mean, black has an outside pawn. The black king is not quite as safe. So anything could happen here. It's a nice move guarding the rook d7. I would be happy with a draw here. But really bad decision. I mean, honestly, look at that bishop. Are you seriously kidding me? I don't know, man. I am 100% playing bishop c6 here. The bishop on g2 is ridiculously strong. I don't understand under any circumstances. I just said like the only thing that's better about White's position is the bishop, you know, and you have a chance to trade it off now with bishop c6. You got to do it. I mean, this bishop is a monster. And you have the outside pawn. I think like black is actually better now after bishop c6. This is a very bad move. Missed his chance to trade it off. Look what happened. Damn, dude. I mean, don't you still have like bishop c4? Bishop c4, rook b4. Bye-bye, Mr. Pawnee. That sucks. Now we're really groveling for a draw. Yeah, it looks like he screwed it up. This is a disaster, man. Bishop on c8, come on. Rook b8, a3. He goes behind it. And now rook c2. So if we trade, rook c5, rook e7 check, king f6. Can we see this? Rook c5, rook e7 check, king f6, rook a7, rook c3, picking off the e3 pawn, or the g3 pawn. White is groveling for the draw now. Here, here, here. We have a very dangerous outside pawn though. Wow. Okay, so rook a7 here. You know, I was even going to suggest maybe white sacks a piece in the last position. Should we seriously consider this? Like, take, take, take? Is this a win? I'm not 100% sure that white has winning position here. There's only 4 pawns left. They look pretty easy to trade off. I think this might be a draw. But it's very difficult to learn. What's up, Jim? It's very difficult to learn like when you should like bail out and play for a draw. Like white has to come to grips with the fact that he has like no way to win anymore. And the a pawn is so dangerous. It's time for like, you know, the last ditch try. He could sack a piece here with knight takes c6. I would probably do that in a tournament game if I had no other way to stop that pawn and have good confidence of a draw. If it's not -2, it's a draw. It's close. Yeah, it could be a draw. It's very likely it's a draw. Just too easy for you to trade off the remaining like 2 pawns with your 4 pawns. But now the pawn looks... Yeah. The pawn looks too strong. We have rook d2. I don't think this pawn exchange changes a lot. Rook d2, check. King g7. King g7. King g7, rook takes check, goes back. Do you have to play king g7? Not to say like this isn't a little dangerous. Like all moves are dangerous here. But I was thinking king f7. Because what's he gonna do? You know, like knight e5 check, king e8? Or then king f8? Man, you have a really brutal plan. Like king h2, bishop b7. That's pretty sick, you know. I think king f7. Now bishop b7. Doesn't work. That's a disaster. So you got to do this. Check. Here. Here. We win the exchange, but is it a winning position? This feels like a draw. This is looking like a fortress. I mean, this king comes up here. The knight's just impenetrable on e5. It's got to be a draw. Black has no passer, no way to make a pass pawn. Mr. Coffee let it slip. This is drawn position for sure. Isn't it? Maybe not. Maybe White doesn't have time to protect everything. He can always play knight e5, knight g4 probably. There is the question about this, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. You don't even have to play e4, like you could play here probably. The knight is untouchable. It's definitely a draw. White has good coordination, you know, light squared bishop, dark squared pawns. Black's pawns are isolated. There's no way he can create a passer, really break. This is a draw, for sure. I mean, there's ways you could try to win, but no. Alright, Mr. Coffee, interesting game. I'm sorry he wasn't here to analyze this with us, guys. This was, you know, presumably a draw. What did he say in his message? Let me see. Mr. Coffee... I don't know if he gave any details. Let's see what his details were. Game submission. This time no experimenting. 45 plus 30. You missed the discovery. Oh, you actually won at the end. Somehow he won the game. Wait, that's the wrong game. Sorry. Sorry. We're back in time. Submission for Thursday stream. Sorry if it's not the correct format. No. I had the wrong game, guys. I apologize. So, hi, sire. Oh. It wasn't Mr. Coffee's game. No wonder he played so well. It was from the Astana Women's Grand Prix. I thought it was Mr. Coffee playing black. Damn. You played like Abdul Malik. Mr. Coffee played like Abdul Malik. Dude, who the hell is Dinara Wagner? Who is Dinara Wagner? 25. Oh, sorry. 23.58. Okay. Alright. It was 23.58. I thought it was like a 25.58. I was like, Christ. Okay. Abdul Malik, you know, was better, but yeah, that was an interesting game. I thought it was you playing correspondence chess, Mr. Coffee. Interesting. Alright, guys. Mr. Coffee correspondence chess around the level of Abdul Malik OTB. Alright, Sumaher versus New York Wolf. This is usually blitz. We're looking at a blitz game. D4, knight f6, c4, b6. Oh, this is my favorite now. WGM of some sort. Don't do it, Ilya Smirin. We follow all the latest scandals. Speaking of Women's Grand Prix. That was ugly. He just got destroyed. Alright. I'm still not sure if he actually insulted women or not. They just like literally ripped him to shreds. I think he was like referring to the old school, like if women can be in men's tournaments, why can't men be in women's tournaments? You know, it sounds like one of these like arguments about trans athletes and stuff. But oh, he berserked? Is this a berserk? Yeah, this is a berserk. Alright. If you're going to be a chess commentator, you got to be politically correct. I'm not a chess commentator. I mean, I'm a streamer and it's my own stream. I'm not like working for a chess tournament as a commentator. A little political correctness. Yeah. He just doesn't have a clue how to behave. Alright. I love this. I played, but he's got practice now. So Sumahara has faced me like 5 times in this line now. So he's probably like been working on it. Bishop e7, queen c2. Now, after queen c2, I think, I guess I've been doing like g6 sometimes. d5 is still the main line though, right? d5, cd5, knight d5, e4. Yeah, no, I've played this. Yeah, I played mostly d5. It's weird looking at it from the white side. I like e6. I had a game like this the other day. There's also e5 for black there. Bad manners as well. Alright, anyway, so black plays g6. Mamajarov. I love Mamajarov. He's very creative. He's smart about, you know, very good at beating like lower level grandmasters with weird, slightly offbeat stuff. This is like out of the, you know, this has been out of the surprise box for a long time now. It's a little late for me to start playing it. It's not a surprise weapon. This hyper accelerated Queen's Indian, but I think it's a lot better than its, you know, original reputation. So now it's like a King's Indian Queen's Indian hybrid. We're just doing like a double fianchetto. The queen is oddly placed on e4. So I think that let's see. I had this against him probably. Yes. So I played d6 here against Sumahara, but thinking about it in retrospect, white, you know, presumably is threatening e5. Essential oils. If bishop g7, e5, and I mean you don't really want to go back to g8. So that's why I played d6. The other possibility is knight to c6, hitting d4. But again, you know, what would happen? It would be like e5, now what do you do? If you take on d4, now this is hanging, and that will be hanging shortly. We'll be with you momentarily. Yeah, so I guess in this particular move order, there is another move. Not really, right? e6 is too late for e6. You have to do it. Like, you have to do d6. Okay. And now Sumahara repeated his game against me. I remember what it was, though. I had an improvement against Sumahara. So bishop d3. And I did bishop g7, which might be okay. First thing is, if you play knight c6, you're not threatening knight b4 because of queen a4 check. If you play it too early. Black played a very bad move here. This is like resigns. Mostly we're doing like positional lessons because I don't have time to calculate. But this is like, just don't play the, you know, just don't play the accelerated Queen's Indian, alright, dude? Because you got a really, really bad Benoni. This is like the worst Benoni ever. Okay, white's queen isn't on a great square. But it's not a good situation. Like, you never want to have this, like, you're stuffed up. It's just bad. It's bad, dude. So that's not the way this is supposed to be played. I played bishop g7. He played knight f3. It's not clear if the knight should go to e2 or f3. But let's see. Knight f3. I castled. He castled. So I got 2 games with him here, actually. He castled and played h3. But let's say like castles. I played knight c6. This is an interesting idea, threatening knight b4. See? Now a3. And now e5. And now d5. And then knight d4. Knight d4, pawn d4, knight e2. The computer had a field day here, if I remember correctly. I was supposed to play something I think really insane like c6. See how my memory is doing. I guess that's on the next move. White's much better. Knight d7. Rook b1. Rook e8. Yeah, it said c6 or something. I don't think this had really crossed my mind. But nevertheless, it's a very complex, very interesting type of position you could get to. Black has to play actively, though. Yeah, rook b1 might not be the best move there. But anyways, to make a long story short, this is a horrendous move. Like, black is toast after that. d5, bishop g7. Not literally toast, but he has a bad position. I almost want to play f4 with white. That's probably not great. I think this is fine. Knight e2. This is the Yasser Seirawan formation. The queen is misplaced on c2. But, you know, it might not be that bad at a certain line. If white like takes back on d5 with the e pawn and plays for f4, f5, maybe queen c2 might be okay. Wow. You know, e5. Extreme chess moves. Well, I mean, you always want to look at this possibility of taking here, but you don't want to give up your strong point without a really good reason, and I'm just not seeing it. You know, there's always the possibility of ripping his pawn structure apart. I just don't see it, you know, so I think you gotta leave it and play Makhaganov, King's Indian, h3. I'm kind of surprised that, knowing him, he didn't play h3 here. Keep the king in the center. Surprised to see you castle kingside. Commit to that. You should just play your Makhaganov, King's Indian. Now a3 on the queen side. It's very hard to make headway with that wall over there. It feels like white should have kept his king in the center and played for a kingside attack here. This is not a traditional King's Indian. You know, I don't like black's position. You can try h3, g4, knight g3, you know, shift the queen over. It's just a check Benoni. Yeah, I mean, f4 is different. f4 is another plan. But f4, you know, opens a can of worms with this diagonal. I normally don't like to play like that. It can be good. So he's completely playing on the queen side. All right. And that's a very bad move. a6 is, I know from experience, like you don't want to lose control of b6 here. The bishop needs to drop back to c8 to try to get back in play. And black just keeps the status quo with the pawns. But I think this is a serious mistake. That's probably like almost losing. A great book by Andy Soltis is his book Confessions of a Grandmaster. He talks about a lot of, it's out of print, really hard to find a copy, but he has a lot of King's Indians where he played kind of crappy setups like this. But it's instructive when he talks about the positions. Like b6 can make a big difference. If that's soft and I get in there on the b file, there's no reason black had to play a6 here. He's trying to play b5. It's like he's trying to play b5. He should be lucky to like stay alive over there. He's weakening himself on white's strong side. FB1, bishop c8, that's a good move. And now a4. Yeah, I don't know about a4. I like just taking. I think you just take, and you got the a4 square. There's also like the classic bishop c2, bishop a4 maneuver, like trying to get in there. I'm not sure about a4. Black can play a5, right? Houston, do we have a problem? I don't know if I like this or not. The a4 square is very useful for white, for the pieces, for knight a4 and for bishop c2, bishop a4. You take that away from yourself. Simply pawn takes pawn, and I think you have a huge advantage. This can also get in here. You got knight a4, all these like ways to kind of filter in. This is a bad move. If he lets you play a5, he's going to collapse. This is sick, man. I mean, it's his only move is a5. It's the only move. And it shuts white down. I mean, you could try. You can try to like stick a rook on b6, but he's coming in. You know, now you have a problem. And he can, yeah, the rook's hanging. Nah, this is a disaster, man. a4 is a huge, huge mistake. You cannot do that, and he misses it. He takes here. This isn't as good. He just like hangs his b6 pawn. Well, he sacrificed it. Unfortunately, like bishop e3, we gotta watch this too. Wow. I mean, maybe you ought to just like pull the rook back. Black has a little bit of compensation. I think white should be okay. He sacked the exchange. All right. It's probably not enough. This is a fast game. This is a good move. And objectively, I think like white's worse now, although he could have been almost winning. Interesting. Unfortunately, we'd like to keep the rook on the third rank, but the a4 pawn was hanging. Black's really going for f2. And the dark squares. But I would take some time here. I don't know how much time you have. If you can stabilize the position, you're probably okay, because black doesn't have an open file. The outside pass pawn, the protected pass pawn on d5. I think the white can be okay if he's careful, but this weakens his light squares around the king side. This looks problematic, man. How are you going to coordinate and defend yourself now? This is really, really awkward. So white to move and try to save the position. Well, he's better according to the engine. Are we up material? We're down the exchange. Plus 2.6 down the exchange. Here. Just guarding f2. I totally misevaluated this position. I thought it was around equal. Wow. That's impressive. The two pass pawns. But the g3 is definitely bad. Now here, there was no reason to weaken these like light squares. I don't know what black should do. Maybe not commit to f4. Although it's probably not a bad move. Bishop f1, queen h5, queen e2. f3. No. I think black has to be flexible and not lock it up. I mean, obviously like bishop g4, right? He's got to play bishop g4. This is stuck now. I think it's important that the queen protects this bishop in case of bishop h3. But how do you decide where to put your queen? Why not d1? d1 seems better. You keep this guarded. You're behind this pawn. You got the queen protecting here. I don't know why he chose to go to e1. The bishop doesn't do anything. Yeah, I mean, the queen is here to protect. I mean, honestly, black's got a tough position. Maybe this knight here. Yeah, now you can see the two knights and the two passed pawns are just too strong for the rooks, which never found open files. It's illustration of a nice light square play. This is a funny move, bishop e3. Not enough, I'm afraid. You can just take this. This is a bluff. This is not working. I mean, you have the rook here guarding laterally. That is a free piece. Funny that you didn't even take it. Took the rook instead. Yeah. Now we're up a rook. Yeah, good game. Very good game. Not perfect though. I think a lot of ways like White can improve his game here. But most importantly, a4 on the queen side. It was a really, really bad move. Alright. Now we got Jim against Hand Smoke. Whoever that is. 1600. Alright. On to game 5. We got Hand Smoke, Asterbait, Crazy Dude. Guys, is anybody still here? Did everybody leave? Because the best part of the stream is here now. This is a game, our hero, he should really be a VIP, but he's not around enough. 41 month subscriber, Jim, 884. The funny thing about this game, Jim's been watching my stream for a long time, but he's playing black in a simul against the legendary Hand Smoke, Mookie. Mook. But the funny thing is that the guy played b3 against Jim. I guess it was like a shout out to Nakamura. But Jim is like an expert in b3. He loves b3. So it was just kind of ironic that Hans played like Jim's favorite move against him. He doesn't know, Jim plays b3 every game. He doesn't always play b3, but he plays it a lot. So one of his favorite moves. Well, he said he was. Okay, but he was for a long time playing primarily b3. So it's not a good choice by Hans. Your game is against Alexander Shabalov. Yeah, it's in the list. We're getting there. But we got the epic deleted account. Wonder why. Alright. So, I don't know if he had the anal beads in place for this game. But Hans Smoke is playing white in a simul. Jim is in the simul. So the great Hans played... This is 3 years ago, by the way. 2019. So Hans was an IM, and he was streaming sometimes. But, never seemed that super talented or anything. Jim's playing black. Jim chooses to play the most principled move. I mean, I'm going to go back to Master Database. D5 is good too. But E5 is the sharpest. You're basically... And this was not when the guy was streaming, by the way, according to Jim. He wasn't streaming. Bishop E2, Knight C6. E3 were a main line. And now, of course, black has two primary moves. knight f6 and d5. There's also like the Adorian. Adorian really likes like g6. That's old news. But primarily it's d5 or knight f6. Knight f6 is probably number one. It's like the Ponziani. d5 or knight f6. Anyway, so Jim plays d5 against his own setup. And I note, White doesn't always play bishop b5. There are other moves. This is critical. And now bishop d6. There is another move here. Jim, what do you think about f6? What's the jury on this f6 stuff? Is f6 not good? I probably played it against you. Just 1 second. I want to check something. So you don't like f6? Alright. Jim is a big Feingold fan, so obviously he wouldn't like f6. That's why he's never around my stream enough. He's always watching, Feingold or Esserman or something. Anyways, back to the game. So, bishop d6, developing a piece, and f4 is classic. Like, that's the old school. I wanted to check if I had played f6 against you. Can we check for my games? Yes. Yeah, see, so I've had this 3 times, twice against you. Yeah, so I played both. Although I don't often play d5. This is infrequent. I played f6 once, and yeah, no, it wasn't against you. I played bishop d6 against you. I played f6 against somebody else. They played d4. Yeah, d4 is the problem. It's kind of like a good French for white. It's like playing f3 against the French or something. I mean, it's weird, It's not really considered quite correct. Okay, back to the database. So, Hans is white. Knight f3. Yeah, I mean, this move is normal. But it blocks the f-pawn, I mean, I've only played the Nimzovich like once or twice myself with white. I really don't know. I probably would play f4. I probably had a game with f4. And then f6 is like a real move. I mean, this is like a main variation. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff to be analyzed here. Probably Cairo knows everything. I haven't followed it. As I said, I don't really play d5. I've played a lot of... I mean, d5 on move 3. I mean, I play d5 on move 1 a lot. I don't play the setup much. So now queen e7. This is classic. It's like an Owen defense in reverse. That's all it is, man. White is playing the Owen defense with an extra move. But that tempo really does matter. I mean, it helps white a little. So apparently d4 and c4 are the main moves. But Hans just castled. Presumably he doesn't know what he's doing that well. Black plays knight f6. I mean, there is a possibility here. I guess there's a possibility of bishop g4, right? You gotta at least consider this. Maybe, could that be the reason why people don't? Could that be the reason why people don't play this way? I mean, of course he can play super sharp, like c4 or something. I have no idea what's going on here. I would at least consider bishop g4. It looks really interesting. Literally no games in the master database where this has happened. The one game where it was played, black played the same move as you. Knight f6. Wow. Yeah, so bishop g4 is good, but e4 is better. Wow. So castles is a serious mistake. Here, and I guess Hans just didn't know what he was doing. That's tough to play though if you're not sure. I would have definitely considered bishop g4. What happens on bishop g4 c4? I wanted to look at this. This is super sharp, but it looks dangerous for the white king. Wow, e4, cd5, e takes f3. Oh my god. D takes c6, castles queenside. It would be like Jim double bishop sacrifice, like Shaki. That would have been in the record books. Yeah, that's extremely dangerous for white. So I guess c4 is not so safe after all. I mean, maybe he has to do h3. He can play bishop e2, you know, admit like he wasted time or whatever. Yeah, alright. Knight f6 is a little routine. So now he's able to kind of get back into a normal type of position. I would say d4, e4, knight e5. I mean, that looks normal to me. It should be approximately level. And now, I mean, obviously you can play bishop d7, right? Like a French. You wish you had the mental energy. Yeah, it's my new deep breathing program. I have lots of mental energy, but no physical energy. It rains every freaking day, so I don't want to go out, and I'm not getting enough exercise. But this is a cool idea. Jim plays dynamically in castles. That's probably the best move. But he's got experience playing, you know, the other side of these lines. So, I mean, obviously you can take here, but, you know, at the very minimum, it's a Greek gift. Jim loves to give Greek gifts. Greek people love Greek gifts, so that's too strong. That's not an option. This is no. This knight is necessary to keep white alive here. B takes. And, you know, theoretically, like, we've seen this theme today already, but maybe there would be a way that somehow you could play f6 and sort of, like, trap his knight on e5. It's just not going to happen. White can nibble with, like, f3, then the knight drops back to g4, you know, so it's not going to happen. It's not going to get trapped. So the question is, like, what does white do? He needs to develop. Plays this. This looks real routine to me. But I don't know. I mean, c4 is obviously a very natural move. Maybe the knight could get to a more active square here. It would incorporate the possibility of c5. That looks better than knight d2 to me. Obviously there's the extreme, like, f3. It doesn't have much power though, you know. This looks better to me. Is that wine? It is. It is. It's my first glass of wine this week. It's Riesling. Yeah, white wine. Alright. Yeah, wine is good. Wine is good. Nate, it doesn't make you tired like beer, I find. c4, better than knight d2, and now Jim takes. But Jim, do we have to do that? Jim, do we have to play bishop takes e5? I just analyzed the game where Chigorin did this in a Stonewall Dutch. It's just so painful, you know, to give up the good bishop. You are basically you're Chigorin. Yeah, I know, I know. Only crazy dude. I've heard about that guy. That's funny that you mentioned the Adamishko, because he was recommended to me by another viewer on the stream. Have to check it out. I mean, this is a fast game. 7 minutes 22. You could probably have some kind of subtle move like Queen E6 maybe. I'm thinking like, you know, in the case of C4, we can always drop back. Imagine if Jim was like Vasily Smyslov or something playing like what would Smyslov play with black here? You get sleepy with wine. I find beer is worse. Any alcohol can make you sleepy. But like 5 of them might have a different effect. You're just not drinking enough if you're getting sleepy. Alright. What would Smyslov do? You know? A5? It's a French, man. Karpov would play bishop e7? I don't think so. This thing is a beauty. You know, this is on its best diagonal here. I mean, it might go to a6, but that's maybe. You know, it reminds me of the Slav. Like, maybe this isn't so stupid. I mean, you're just sacking a pawn. You're not even sacking a pawn. I mean, I always have bishop takes h2, so. Although it's probably not that great. We have to do this. Yeah, f6. Yeah, I'm not convinced by that. Alright, so he does the tactical solution. Jim is the modern Mikhail Chigorin. But dude, you're taking a very big risk here, strategically. I mean, you're bringing his bishop into the game. Going opposite color bishops, I think it favors, you know, the tactical player, which may be you. What does the engine say? Bishop e5. Then it changes its mind. Dude, it's suggesting bishop b7. It needs time. Queen e6 is a good move. But it's having a tough time. It's like revolving back and forth between the moves we suggested, bishop e5 and queen e6. It likes his bishop e5. But I mean, you know, let it run for overnight and it might come up with a different move. I just think this is the kind of position where if you have time, it's a vital decision that affects the long run. I feel like this lets the genie out of the bottle a little bit. I don't care about like winning a pawn. If we win this pawn, who cares? Because it's opposite color bishops. It's going to be very dynamic, and the pawn probably won't matter that much. But Chigorin probably would have agreed with Jim. Okay, knight g4 and now f4. See, I think this is a gut reaction by Hans. Because he wasn't using the anal beads during this game. He just had to use his own brain. But again, I don't think that it's a problem. Like, we don't have to panic because we're like losing a pawn. Okay, lose the pawn. You know, it's opposite color bishops. Well, black has doubled pawns already. It's not the end of the world. You know, there is a threat against h2. So let's just play chess, like, right? Is this a problem? Maybe 95 knight in, 95 knight in here. I think that Hans's biggest mistake in this game is actually knight d2. The knight d2, he's like still like not living this down. What is he going to do with this knight on d2? If it was on c3, it would put pressure on the center. Maybe go out to a4 and into c5 or something, or back to e2. He has nothing to do with this knight on d2. You know, so I don't really like f4. But the funny thing is that This is very tactical, you know, and I don't know if he just like blundered it or he was really calculating here. But Jim has an idea. They both do, but Jim has like kind of the last laugh here. Knight takes e3, queen e2, knight f1, rook takes, and then bishop e6. I mean, this is probably, presumably, a mistake, right? I didn't analyze this game that deeply. I mean, if I'm Jim here, the first thing that crosses your mind is like f5, but okay. Dude, you know, in all honesty, you're up the exchange, you could play like rook takes f6. If you're really worried, imagine this. What's he gonna do? You know, bishop takes f6. Okay, queen f6. Now I have like a massive pass pawn on e4. I think like black, you know, black is just pawn up, crushing pawn up. So f5 is the safest thing to do. You did this, you know, he's got a crushing threat, so you had to sack your bishop. Okay, takes, queen c5 check, queen f2, and then here. It looks good, but White was able to coordinate. He definitely wasn't using an engine in this game. Queen f2, rook f2. And the problem is like he's got this blockade on the dark squares. Was rook f2 a blunder? You're saying he should have played king f2, bringing the king closer to the center. He was mistakenly thinking about maybe attacking her pawns or something. Queen takes c was a blunder. You had e3, but there was something there. You mean you just had e3 here? He definitely... I didn't see this when I analyzed it briefly. But his move's a blunder, right? I mean, it's a double blunder. He didn't have to play queen f2. Couldn't he play, like, move the king? Then you're taking here, and it's much worse, though. So you're saying White was lost. Yeah, I mean, he deserves to be lost. The sacrifice was unsound. He obviously missed queen c5 check. But Jim misses e3. Now the blockade is very strong. g6 looks like a bad idea, objectively. You may be lost here because your pawn structure is so bad, but I'm not convinced that you're lost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you have 3 pawns. You can't be lost. 3 pawns is too many. I mean, the computer is going to say White's okay here. But you got to play actively. Look at the difference between like number 1 move. I was thinking even f6 maybe. Ben Feingold said not to play that. But I mean, I don't like this pawn on e5. Link the game. I don't know, can I link the game? What did I just do? Mokimon. Can I just open this board? What the hell? Why is it so difficult? Analysis board. Yeah, I can give the link here. Original. Copy. B.U. Mr. Coffee's back. You missed your analysis. Dude, it didn't paste? What the hell's going on here? Is this going to be a problem? Going between browsers. Copy. Paste. It usually works. Man. There we go. Hope Jim doesn't mind us sharing his game. No copyright on Jim's game, by the way. Can't copyright chess games. Man, do I still have 329 ping? Okay, the engine being turned on is bad. We're gonna have to have a fundraiser for a new computer. We just did a fundraiser to send me to the World Senior Championship. We're gonna have a new laptop fundraiser. Alright. Eric the Red. We'll see how we're doing on time. I probably have like 45 minutes I have to go. We're going to do as many games as I can. So anyway, Jim's against Han Smoke. G6 is not good, dude. You don't want to put your pawns on white squares. You want to play F6 if anything. You know, chip away at his pawn, and you're up 3 pawns. The computer suggests Rook B8, and I think the reason why it wants to play Rook B8 because it wants to play A4 and crack his pawns, but it doesn't want to allow B4. So this is the idea, you know, Rook B8 with the threat of A4. You've got to think in terms of like breaking up his pawns, you know. G6 is a bad move. You end up like putting like all your pawns on white squares, which isn't really ideal. Now you got the right idea, A4. And he saw it, so he played bishop C5. Like, you might have something dramatic here. I mean, maybe you could play A4, B4, D4. You have to be thinking about this kind of stuff. I mean, maybe even extreme chess moves. I mean, the truth is, like, you have 3 pawns for the 2 pieces. I mean, that's a lot of pawns. You know, all you have to do is like trade off a few of his pawns, but I think F6 would have been a good move. So he tried to do it, and he just keeps the lockdown in place. You know, another thing here, Jim, you might be able to sack the exchange. Like, if you could get your king to the center somehow, but you just can't. You know, that sucks. Imagine if you could get your king to E6 and just like sack your rook and take on E5. Dude, you could have a position where you literally have like 4 pawns for a knight. No, I mean, imagine if you get 4 pawns for a knight. If there was only a way to like get your king toward the center, I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if you're doing fine. But I think even in the final position, you're still hanging on. You had misplayed it, you know, but I don't see White, like, he's improved his position, but he's still like a million miles from winning. White has only a slight 1 pawn advantage, basically. It's not enough to win. But I have the feeling he would have probably... Oh, you won on time. I didn't realize. It said he had 37 minutes. Oh, shit. That's weird. Alright, well, good old Simos. That was Hans Smoke. Pre-anal bead era. Early Hans. No, I didn't understand why the clock said 37 minutes. Alright, next up is Asterbate. Thanks, Jim, for that nice thematic diversion. Asterbate playing against the Alyekin defense. We never see this. How many people, you know, who are around the 1600 rating area, like, play the Alyekin defense? Asterbate, have you played this variation before? I don't remember. Envinus, welcome. Asterbate is one of our longest long-term VIPs. Wow. A new way to get to the 4 pawns attack. You've played this quite a few times with black? Yeah, of course. But I've never seen anyone play f4 here. That's really funny. This has a problem, right? If you play d4, black plays d6, white plays f4, it's the 4 pawns attack. I think one of white's best lines, actually. Not easy to play, though. You know, like, you have to be very accurate when you're playing with a space advantage. Lower rated players tend to melt down and not be able to consolidate space advantage positions. But Asterbate's move order has a flaw, right? If you play f4 first, these pawns are not, like, fluid. So, yeah, man, but did you see Naroditsky plays the 4 pawns? Naroditsky plays the 4 pawns. Yeah, I guess he does after he got, like, destroyed by Ray Robson. Did you see how bad he got destroyed by Ray Robson in the, what was it, like, the last year's US Championship? That's probably when he started playing the 4 pawns. It was, like, the most brutal game I ever saw. F4. I analyzed that game for... Yeah, no, he got destroyed. The 4 pawns has some problems for black. You know, I don't think there's a really easy way for black to equalize. The problem is c5. What is white going to do about c5? Here. That's interesting. I don't think that there really is. Yeah, you got the impression that he didn't know what he was doing with black for sure. The Alyekin is not an opening that you can just, like, play, like, once in a while. It's an opening that you have to be, like, really, really well prepared in. And even then, it's probably not good enough. At that level, it was a very strange decision. I mean, to play it against Robson seems really dumb. But, let's see, c5. Good move for black. I think that's the refutation of your setup. c5, knight f3, and then knight c6. Now d4. C takes d4, knight takes d4, and the question, I guess, is something like this. Like, there's no games with this position, but it's quite an interesting one. I mean, the funny thing that they call it the Alyekin defense, but honestly, Alyekin didn't play it much, you know. He really didn't play a lot of games with it. I mean, maybe, for all I know, he played it a lot in Blitz. You know, interestingly, Uwe played against him in the World Championship. Speaking of people who make dumb decisions or weird decisions in World Championship matches, Uwe played it with black against Alyekin. I thought that was, like, really insane. He got away with it too, you know. Total surprise. But I think that's the problem with your setup, Asterbate. If you want to play the 4 pawns attack, you have to play d4, d6, and then f4. And so these pawns are fluid. Alright, black didn't understand. So now you transpose with knight f3 or d4. Better is d4. Here? No. You can't play a similar thing as d4. It's bad. Knight f3, e6. Oh, you mean like on the other side of the board, like the Mexican defense? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for some reason that's never been as popular. Yeah, yeah. People call it another thing, but I think I call it the Mexican defense. So d4, bishop e4 check, knight c3, queen e7, and now a3. There's no call for a3 here. Acerbate. You know, you've already moved 4 pawns. Why are you playing a3? You have a good position, I think. Black's failed to counterattack against your center. So what you need to do is like complete your development. Obviously, like bishop d3. Maybe bishop e3. One or the other. Honestly, like even d5 might be strong. But 4.5, yeah. This is a 5 pawns attack. That seems a little excessive. Oh no. I mean, black you gotta lay some claim to this, man. I think like d5 probably would be black's best shot here. But instead he did this. This is an interesting move. Now I would be tempted to like troll my opponent by not taking his knight and trying to beat him anyway. Like if for example you play bishop d3, you probably have good compensation for your sacrificed pawn. But Acerbate was just like ruthless and took the knight. Just, you have no heart, man. Just ruthless. Speaking of Alyakin, he's playing like Alyakin with white. Like white. And now d5. Absolutely not giving him anything. Now you're threatening d6. Now black's got to play d6 before he gets shut out completely. Down a piece, but still alive. Castle's queenside. So obviously f5 is kind of tempting here. I'm surprised he didn't do that. I like this too. You're going to have to sack the exchange. Yeah, this is a good move, stopping knight c5. There, he finally did like d6, breaking against your center. It's move 18, and black finally attacked white's center. If you wait until move 18 to attack the center in Alyakin's defense, this is what happens to you, you know? Needless to say. Everything is winning. White's up a full piece, but he played this, and now there's a cute move, knight c6. You missed it. How could you? D takes e5 and you have this. This is so aesthetic. I can't believe it. I thought that was your whole point. Oh, it doesn't work? Wow, it doesn't work. That's so sick. Black has queen d7. That's so disappointing. Like, you would have to just like trade queens and settle for being a piece up here. So that's why he didn't play knight c6. That's so cute, you know. He would have never found queen e7. You know, you would have played like rook takes queen and lost this another rook. And you just took. How boring. That's getting kind of nasty over there. He gave you even more material. Oof. I can't believe you played bishop takes g7. This is so anticlimactic. It looks like you're playing for mate, and you played that. Oh my god. Now he's off the back rank. You let him off the back rank. Fundamentals, Acerbate. You never let the king off the back rank. You got him cut off on the back rank with your rook, and you moved your rook off the back rank. This is such a fundamental mistake. Dude, never, ever, ever do that. The object of the game is like checkmate. Take here, you're coming with the other rook, you're like mating him on the back rank with rook f8. You did that too. What was it? Rook f8. Oh, you did rook f8. Yeah. Shaky. Very shaky technique. Unbelievable. Now you're playing for mate. It's close to stalemate. Alright, man. Yeah, there was a lot of better ways to do it, but I don't think that white made any terrible moves. Alright, crazy dude. And we've got like 30 minutes left. I'll try to do one more game if I have time. Crazy dude, thanks for being a subscriber. Crazy dude is playing a Simul against Shaba. Shaba Daba Doo. What's fun about Shabalov is that he's actually a guy who knows how to play the Alekhine defense. For real. He's from Latvia, and Bagirov was like probably one of his coaches, I assume. So Shaba will trot out the odd Alekhine sometimes, but actually knows it pretty well. But in the words of Lev Sakis, like maybe you should stop playing the Alekhine. Yeah, I played Bluffstein. I lost this twice to him. I had good positions. I don't know. One game he had a terrible position and I lost. And the other game I had a decent opening and lost that too. Alright. The first one was a heartbreaker though. He had an awful position. Anyway. This is Shaba with black. You're lucky he played the Karo Khan. Not really a Shabalov opening. So c4, yeah, the last time I saw Bluffstein was here. It was around 2007. I don't know. We played in a tournament here in Budapest. That's about the time, I guess, when he like quit playing chess. 2007, 2008. I don't remember exactly when it was. I lost to him on the black side of a Nimzo. I was black against him twice. I had a great position in another one. Okay, d5. Shaba's black. Playing the Karo Khan. So you played C. This is a very rare variation. C takes d5. This is only crazy dude. Now normally, if you play this line, the point is to play pawn takes pawn. And then black usually plays knight f6, and then you have either bishop e5 check or queen a4 check. There's a lot of different lines. I mean, I'm not that crazy about them, but white is not worse. I like to play the Panov. So I often play ED, ED and d4. In these lines where you have doubled pawns, like the pawns end up weak, and ultimately, they're very hard to hold on to. I don't think that white really gets an advantage. If you want to get an advantage against Karo Khan, objectively, like the advanced variation is probably the best shot. But not everyone likes to play closed positions, so I get it. If you like open positions, you don't want to play the advanced variation. But this, I've never seen anyone do this. Knight f3 here. That's like a funny move. You're playing like it's almost Budapest Gambit, like with colors reversed. That's a funny idea. Just that like your c pawn's gone. Yeah, it's weird. Of course, it's probably not great, but this is the kind of thing that might throw someone off. Tennis and Gambit, yeah. So, presumably, The structure favors black. You know, it's not exactly a Budapest. In the Budapest, you have a better structure. Your pawn is still here. Black has like a pawn on c5. White has a pawn on c2. So compared to the Budapest, you have a worse pawn structure. You have an isolated pawn on d. So if we play it like a Budapest with like knight g5, I mean, if you take a variation like the Nimzovich, or what's the Alyakin variation of the Budapest, like here. No, I mean, I just think, like, I don't trust this, you know. You just have a bad pawn structure. Yeah, that's a possibility. But I was thinking, is there more, you know, Queen A4 is, of course, playable, but I was thinking, is there a more dynamic way to play it, you know? And, like, here, like, the Fajarowicz, again, knight e5. Let's say he plays like a normal move, knight f6. He could try to be more aggressive with queen d4. You know, so I guess none of this stuff is really that great. I mean, it's possible you could do something weird, like knight g5, e5, d3. Bishop e4 check, knight c3. Like, maybe you could go all in with some kind of crazy-ass gambit. Maybe that's the best way to play it, I don't know. But I think a smart player would probably find a way to, you know, give back the pawn and have at least an equal game or an advantage. So queen a4 check, I kind of think of this as like, you know, you're going to the casino, you cashed in for some chips, you like won the back in the slot machine, and you're cashing back out. You know, you're just getting your money back with queen a4 check. So here, oh, you didn't. I thought you were going to cash back out with queen takes. So finally you didn't. Okay, because this is bad. I mean, I think like white is worse here. So you played knight e5. I have this joke that, you know, queen a5 is always bad. So we could say the same thing, queen a4 is always bad. But at least knight e5 is kind of dynamic. And Shaba played queen d4. Ah. It's like a hyper-accelerated Sicilian. But, you know, maybe not the end of the world. You have bishop e5. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I wonder, theoretically, what his best move is here. I'm not convinced it's queen d4. Like, he has so many options. Black could play knight f6. I guess you play bishop e5 there. And then on bishop d7, bishop takes c6. How do you play this? Knight takes c6? There's some weird stuff going on. I mean, this might be one of those positions where black can even play like queen b6 or something. What do you do after queen b6, for example? Black's probably okay. So he sent a stream, make it interesting. Okay, well, this is a classic move, queen d4. Bishop e5. Wow. Oh, okay. So he went totally like coffee house on you. Yeah, I mean, objectively, I think this is risky. Like, if he was playing against me or something, I don't know, you know. He might play a safe move. I don't know. Queen takes, bishop d7. But in that case, I'm not sure if he would have even gone into this in the first place. Knight takes, king takes, you know, knight c3, knight f6. Probably there's a way you can play it and have really, you know, active. You temporarily sacrifice the second pawn, and I think you can probably get active compensation. The truth is, like, you're probably okay here, but you gotta play very actively. You can't end up with a backward pawn. You know, this pawn has to be sacrificed for open lines and get it back, and you just have compensation. So this move is really psycho. Queen takes e5, check, king d8. Yeah, I mean, objectively, the king on d8 is bad. I think he's having fun. But I'm of the opinion that white's probably better here. There's only one thing that's important in this position, I think, primarily, which is the king safety. You know, the only really important thing is the relative position of the king. So you're not supposed to take the pawn back here. You can do it, but you're slightly worse. So what I'm saying is, if you had to win this game for $1 million, probably, or if I had to win this game for $1 million, this move looks sus, right? Bishop e8 looks sus. I think we got to play bishop b5. I play bishop b5. I say screw it, you know. Yeah. No, I mean, his king is on d8, you know. Is he going to be able to deal with that in the long run? I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it's hard for you to get your pieces out, you know, but I think, let's say knight f6. He wants to do this. You can't play d4 or d3 because your king position. I mean, it's possible you have to make an extremely prophylactic move at some point, like h3 or something. But I still argue that, like, objectively, his king isn't safe. So I think if it was like a really strong grandmaster with white and he had to play, there's a strong chance like white might not go into this. If Shabalov himself was playing white, you know, he might not go into that. This is like the safest move, but you're slightly worse. Exactly. Queen e4, bishop e4, knight f6. And now, an interesting debate. I think you probably made a good move, ultimately. But, I mean, you could consider bishop f3. This is a strong diagonal. And it's a bishop, you know. Alright, d3. He can obviously take, but it's very drawish. Black would be slightly better, but not much. And his king isn't safe. I'm not thinking he's going to do that. e6. Yeah, this is a concession. Now, I wonder if there's any way he could possibly sacrifice the b7 pawn for active play. So let's say he does this. You know, what if you could decline it? You know, bishop takes b7, rook b8, bishop wherever, you know, bishop d5 or something. The truth is you have a bad pawn, and his king is on a closed file, so black has compensation because of this. You have like vulnerable pawns. Alright, anyway, he blocks in his bishop, which is going to make it a little tough to get this bishop out. Objectively, obviously, he can play e5 too, you know. But this is like safer. I don't know, you know, what about e5? Does he really want to block his bishop in? I mean, is this a problem? What are you going to do? Like f4? Yeah, maybe, but I wouldn't be surprised if e5 is better than e6. e6 looks restricted. You know, we don't have to overjudge him. He's playing a simul. I mean, you know, this bishop g5, I'm honestly not sure where to put your bishop. But for sure you're going to play knight c3. He plays check, and now, you know, knight c3 is fine. You can also play king e2. A lot of things, you know, one thing that beginners tend to not understand is that, and I mean anybody like under master level, the king in the middle game, this is a middle game, man. When you trade queens and one set of minor pieces, this is already a middle game. This is not, I'm sorry, it's already an end game. I'm trying to say it's an end game. It's an end game, you know. You have to be careful, but I mean, king e2 deserves serious consideration. Knight c3 is fine, though. h6, now. You definitely cannot trade your dark square bishop. This is a horrible move. Like, under no circumstances. Your pin was a bluff, you know, and we accept that. Okay. So it's h4 or maybe bishop f4. But he has knight d5. You could even put your bishop on e3. So you have 4 different squares, all of which are viable. Wow. g5 looks kind of risky. I thought he was going to play knight h5, but you have this. f6. Not sure. He played just to break the pin. He slightly weakens his king side, and now you play bishop e5. Yeah, I don't know, I would consider h4 for you here. I would also consider, as we mentioned before, king e2. I'm a little concerned about this knight h5 thing. Alright, you played, what, here? The problem with bishop e5 is that it's not, you know, what I'm going to say. Unlike king e2 or h4, f5 was trapping your bishop. Where? Well, he doesn't have f5. His knight's on f6. I mean, f5 could happen in the future, but it's not yet. But this move is not, it's not a constructive move. It's probably not terrible, but you don't improve your position that much. Here's a good move. Here's a good move. And now he decides to play knight d7. Honestly, I think that Shaba has a lot of good moves. If bishop d6, though, well, this looks good if you, like, take. You can play d4. Let's see, bishop takes, pawn takes, knight d7. That looks a little problematic because you can't protect that pawn. How are we going to play this if he plays bishop d6? Like, you have no way to guard your bishop on e5. He can simplify the game. He's probably, you know, considerably better, but not winning necessarily. You know, you'll have to take. You have to take. He probably takes with the rook, and you have stuff like knight b5 sometimes, maybe rook to the c file. Yeah, maybe you can live. Maybe you're not lost here. I wouldn't want to have the position against Magnus Carlsen, or any position. Knight d7. Wow, this is really aggressive what you did here. But I'm surprised by his move. I don't like his move, knight d7. I don't like this move. You know, why is he doing that? I mean, his knight is good. He wants to move his f-pawn and trap your bishop. It's like a cheapo. I get it. I get it, I get it, I get it. Yeah, I don't think like Shabalov. I mean, we're very different players. So it's kind of like a complex cheapo. Knight d7. This bishop. Now it's a thing. But you have bishop c7. You know, objectively, I doubt his move is good. Yeah, he does mobilize that pawn, though. That's nice. Bishop g7. And now, not f5, but f6. Did he miss this? He has f5 for serious? You have bishop f5? What? Did he miss winning a piece? Bishop takes here, pawn takes. You have this, bishop takes here, knight f6, and then knight takes e4. You would win back the exchange at least, and have like 3 pawns for it. Oh man. You have 3 pawns and 2 pieces. 3 pawns and a rook for the 2 pieces after rook f6. Rook f8 at the minimum. Yeah. It's not possible. Wow. So h4, that's a good move. And then g4. And then g3. And now your bishop has retreat squares. h5. You can't play bishop g6. Oh, you played really well after the strange opening. And your bishop's out. And now knight c5. And that's a nice feature of his knight d7 maneuver. But you're still okay. So it's like you're bailing out. a3, knight e4. You took with a knight. No way. Tough decision. If you take with the pawn, you fix your pawn structure. You got to watch out for the light squared bishop. But the only thing I'm worried about is like what, bishop e7. But he's kind of passive here. You know? Yeah, your king could get hit by a bishop or something, but I don't think it's a big deal. Like knight b5, what's he gonna do to you? This is nothing. Like b6, you can meet that with a4. You're just all over him here. This is an interesting decision. I would probably improve my pawn structure in this position if I were you. This doesn't... He guards c7. Wow. Yeah, that thing never did move. Yeah, I mean you're almost winning now. Black has to be like Peter Lako here. Wow, was knight c4 really good? What would Lako do? I mean, would Lako have played bishop e7? Like seriously. Well, first of all, you know, it might be safer to play bishop e7, right? You can play rook check, but it's not, or rook c7 I mean, but it's not a big deal. I mean, he can always play this. He can trade off one of your rooks here. I guess he's still kind of paralyzed though. I think that's a problem. Takes, king e8. But I had this feeling like he's gonna Lako you, you know, just like hang on by like a turtle. Alright, bishop a5 here. This is a mistake. Rook c5, and then boom. Suddenly, like, black is almost losing. That was kind of an important pawn. Bishop e3. Do you think rook c5 was a blunder? You want to play knight? You want to go, like, knight d6 check? You had knight d6 check, knight takes. Oh my god. Knight d6 check and knight takes b7. You're forking him. Fork you. You had this. Where do you want him to go? King g6, let's say. Knight takes b7. Now his rook's attacked and the bishop's attacked. What's he gonna do? He doesn't have any tricks. There's no bishop c6. He's like losing the exchange. Oh man, of course. Yeah, I mean, he had to be Lako and play this. He should have played this. Yeah, so you both blundered. Simul's are tough. Oof. Now your rook is like stuck out of play. Wow. So what just happened here? You took the pawn. He plays bishop takes e3. What about king takes? I like definitely prefer having my king on a dark square, but it's a tough call. You still have to defend d3. You're like cut off now. This is really ugly. You have to play knight f2. So it kind of looks like black's hanging on here. Here. And now here. King g6. Check. Here. e4. Wow. I mean, my gut instinct is that like black should have good chances to hang on. But I gotta hurry up. No, he's worse, but he's hanging on. Here. This was a blunder. Check. Resigns? Is it too early to resign? He's lost in the rook ending. Yep. Yep. Yeah, the simul's are tough, especially if you're not used to it. You know, he's getting low on time. That was a really interesting game. Thank you for sharing that. Very quickly, I'm going to add this last game. I gotta go, guys, so I'm going to go over this for like 5 minutes. Here. Oh, okay. I don't know what that was. Anyway. Alright, guys, I gotta go. At the end, yeah, I know how it is. It's like bullet. I guess that's it, guys. Anyway, it's time to go. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Google Shilling. Thanks for the enjoyable streams. You're a good teacher. See you all next time. Thanks, Google Shilling. We will be back Friday with Rapid. Yeah, these were interesting games today. We only hit like seven games, but interesting stuff. I like analyzing chess even more than playing. But I appreciate your support. So please subscribe, donate, support the stream. Don't forget to drop some bits in the hat or a donation on the way out via Streamlabs. We will be back. I'm going to do a raid, I think, for our old friend. / raid Art Vega 1983. The computer is acting really weird. Art _ Vega 1983. Yeah, I've had terrible lag. I don't know what's up with that. Thanks, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. Mr. Coffee, thank you. Yeah, Mafaz is a great guy. Very nice guy. Good player. We'll see you all later.